how Uttarakhand's green cess can change tourism. Is this a new eco-revolution that is starting in the hills? And what can the other states learn from Uttarakhand about cards and conservation? Hills are the favorite destination for travelers and tourists, but the price is paid by the hills themselves in the form of pollution, in the form of dust, in the form of congestion and whatnot. And to solve this problem, Uttarakhand has brought the green tax. Hello everyone, welcome to Vajram and Ravi's Flash News. My name is Shubhangi Singh and today we are going to understand this proposed green tax by Uttarakhand government, that how it could be a turning point when we are talking about tourism and what needs to be learned from this particular green cess by other states as well. So let us begin by understanding that why exactly this green tax has been decided to impose. So when we are talking about the imposition or why this green tax has been brought, the first very reason is the excessive pressure that we get to see on the hills. In this particular case, Uttarakhand, be it Nainital, be it Rishikesh, all of these are succumbing under the pressure of over tourism. If you go by the number, over more than 4 crore tourists visit these places annually, and vehicles, not just because of emissions, but the amount of load they bring in, the people they bring in, the waste generation that takes place are choking the fragile hill roads during the peak season. It is not just about the roads, it is also about the ecological fragility that exists in the hills. For example, when we are talking about increased emissions, we are talking about road dust, we are talking about waste dumping and also enhanced risks of the landslide. So, if there is more pressure, then all of these problems will automatically increase. So, we want to reduce this pressure, and how we are planning to do that? Through this particular green tax in Uttarakhand. Apart from that, there is a heavy infrastructure strain. When we are talking about infrastructure, you have to understand there are not just congested roads, there is limited parking space, waste overflow, which you do not see only in Nainital, Mussoorie, Char Dham, Rishikesh, Haridwar, all of these places. Apart from that, another phenomena of land subsidence, which we have seen in Joshimath. Studies show that this is occurring in Nainital, it is occurring in Rishikesh. And when we are talking about this particular phenomena, yes, it is fueled by natural factors, be it earthquake, movement of plates, but it is also fueled by anthropogenic human factors such as excessive load. So in this situation, we have to understand that there are enough reasons where the tourism is costing the hills. And if hills want to work up to change the scenario, there is the funding problem, there is a revenue gap. So if there are environmental cleanups required, infrastructure upgrade to manage the infrastructure strain, the issue is there is lack of sustainable funding sources. So, to solve this problem, in order to make the polluters pay, people who are coming from outside who are not taking care of the hills, they should be responsible for the upgrades, for the checks, for the fitment that is required, and that is why this green tax has been brought. Now, let us understand the structure of this whole green tax. So, the idea is the taxation will be only on non-Uttarakhand registered vehicles. There is a rate structure that has been defined, and this rate structure varies across the vehicle sizes. There is a proper method of collection that has been outlined as well, which says that there will be automatic plate recognition cameras at the entry points and there will be proper online prepayments. That means technology is being used to make sure that there is also proper implementation of the taxation and there is transparency, because there will be a dashboard which has been promised by the government which will show this. There are certain exemptions For example, the state vehicles, two-wheelers and EVs, electronic vehicles, will get a discount which is proposed. Let us see how much it comes into the order. And the whole expected revenue is going to be more than 100 CR annually. But the question here is, what and how will the money be used? So that also has been mentioned by the government, that they will be allocating it for waste collection, green mobility, parking upgrades, EV charging hubs, and all of this again will be part of the dashboard for transparency that I have mentioned. So this comes in as an important step where government wants to ensure that yes, we will be collecting money, but we will be reinvesting to make sure that we are conserving the environment for which we are collecting this particular tax. So in order to implement that, there will be legal amendment will be taking place under State Motor Vehicles Taxation Act. There will be proper setup of tech-enabled checkposts, especially on the border roads, and there will be a creation of green fund. And that green fund will be utilized for different purposes in terms of clean energy, conservation purposes, and there will be a monitoring not just in form of an online dashboard, but there will be a proper annual public audit. The reason to make you go around this whole policy is to make you understand the fact that this is something that is required to address the situation. And this is not the first place where this is happening. There are examples. For example, if we talk about India itself, Ladakh charges an environmental fee where rupees 400 are collected per visitor, which is used for conservation, and it has been very important, instrumental in reducing littering and also the unmanaged travel. For example, another example, Sikkim, tourist entry fee. So this is used for solid waste management. Sikkim is one of the standing examples when we talk about clean areas. And then we can also look at international examples, be it Bhutan SDF, where they charge a sustainable development fee. So basically it controls the footfall of the tourist and it also helps to maintain the local ecology. Apart from that, London congestion charge. So there was a charge which was brought in to reduce the congestion. It not only reduced the congestion, it also reduced the emissions by 20%. So this particular step by Uttarakhand seems in the right direction, because if there are targeted levies of taxes and there is visible reinvestment, then public will accept it happily and it will also make the change where the policy has been targeted. Now the question comes that we are talking about that this is a milestone when we are talking about changes in tourism, how this can be used by other states. Before we go to other states, it becomes important for us to know the outcomes and what are the challenges. That is when we will be able to understand. So when we are talking about outcomes, the first outcome would be definitely reduction in vehicular influx, because for which we have got the imposition of tax. Now if the vehicular influx will be reduced, air quality will be better, road safety enhanced, road will be more clear, there will be better movement of traffic. Furthermore, we are expecting some behavioral shift, especially where the personal vehicles are not allowed. People will move towards public transporting and also carpooling. And definitely there will be an additional revenue for the government, especially for green infrastructure. But it comes with challenges as well. When we are talking about imposing a fee, it will definitely deter a certain section of population in terms of tourism. There will be resistance from transporters as well as local traders, because this could affect the tourism, also their trade in the area. So that needs to be managed by the government, and there is a possibility of evasion which needs to be managed through governance as well as technology. So here we need to bring in the fiscal tool with awareness and also incentives for following this. Now let us move, now that we have understood the expected outcomes, now let us understand that what makes it a lesson for other states. The first thing makes it a lesson is the replicability. So if there is a model that is too unique, it is very difficult to replicate. So in this situation, the hilly states, be it Himachal Pradesh, be it Meghalaya, because the idea is simple, yet the execution, the key lies in the execution. it has replicability and this can be used by these states. Furthermore, there is scope for expansion. That means it leaves space for integration with EV policy, parking reforms, dynamic pricing for peak season travel so that people would have to pay more during the peak season. All these can be brought in, which can be a lesson that can be taken up by other states. Apart from that, evaluation metrics which have been put in, they are important. That can also be an important lesson for other states. That is change in vehicle entries. For example, air quality indices, tourist satisfaction, fund utilization rate, all of will be present in the online dashboard that will allow not just transparency but also to bring in public's trust. And this is where we get to see a very good combination of equity, communication as well as governance. For example, when we are talking about exemptions for essential goods, low income pilgrims and emergency services, when we are talking about communication plans, there is proper signage, online awareness campaigns, telling about how the funds will be used, transparency, public quarterly reports, dashboard I have mentioned, and then local empowerment as well, where panchayats as well as municipalities will decide where the money will go at the real ground level, at the micro level. So this becomes a very important experiment which could actually change that how we look at tourism, especially from the government's policy making point of view, and especially also in terms of sustainable tourism that actually helps to build the hills and also contribute to it in a very meaningful manner. Now in conclusion, I would like to just highlight the fact that when we are talking about this being an important experiment, significant experiment, because it blends fiscal innovation with most importantly environmental ethics, and this could help in improving not just India's tourism but how the tourism is done overall. That was all from my side. Thank you so much.